Welcome again to another biblical story. It's exciting but sad, but that's life. Is sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and if we don't obey what God says to us, then we have to face troubles, and that's how the biblical story ends. In the story before, we heard that King Saul even loved David and he admired him and he made him his personal bodyguard. But as soon as King Saul became envious towards David, he became his enemy. And that was very, very bad. David always loved and respected King Saul all the time. And King Saul then persecuted David all the time. And when he told him that he is his friend, then King Saul said, "Oh, I'm sorry," but after a little while he changed his mind again. So David said, "I will never calm down. I have to go to my enemies because I have 600 soldiers and my 2 wives and all the families. I go down to God, to King Achis. I try to go there. I think always King Saul will persecute me as long as he lives. I surrender to the Philistines. I go down to the King Achis and ask him if I can be a resident of his area." And he went down to the Philistine king, and King Ziklag from the Philistines said, "Oh, you are most welcome in my land, and I admire you. Will you be my personal bodyguard?" "Yes," David said, "I will do so. I surrender to you." And King Achish said, "I will give you a known town, Ziklag, so you can live there in peace, and you and all your families. Yes, I have 600 soldiers and families, and I have 2 nice wives, and I have to calm down. I have been always persecuted by King Saul. Yes, you can stay here, don't worry. As you stay here, you just help me a little bit, and then you can live here in peace. But sure, you be my bodyguard now. You will not fight against the Philistines anymore. No, no, no. I will just hide here and stay with you here." Okay. But one day a problem was arising. The Philistines and King Achish planned to attack Israel. So to speak, attack King Saul and Jonathan, friends of David. Jonathan was his personal friend, his best friend. And David, whenever he had to make a decision, he prayed to God. He said, "God, I can't fight against King Saul and against Jonathan, but if I not surrender under King Achish, he knows that I'm not for him, and I don't know what to do. Please help me do a miracle that I don't have to fight against King Saul and Jonathan. I just still love King Saul, and Jonathan is my dear friend. Oh, please, God, help me, please." So King Achish asked for his help, and "You will join us, and all your soldiers join us, okay?" "Yes, yes," King David said. No, he was not yet king. David said, "Yes, I will do so. I come with you." But in his heart he prayed, "Oh God, please change the circumstances. Please let me not fight against my people, against the people I love." And then God changed hearts. God can change hearts of mighty people. Sometimes He can change hearts of enemies. Suddenly the enemies are not enemies anymore. Suddenly enemies become friends. And God changed the hearts of the kings of the Philistines. They said, "You don't let David and his soldiers fight with us against King Saul and Jonathan. He is still from Israel. You will not do so. Tell David that he should not come to battlefield with us, not with his soldiers." So King Achish said, "Oh, I hope you're not offended." But the kings of the Philistines said, "You're not allowed to fight in the battlefield against the Israelis and against the people from Judah. The kings of the Philistines don't want it. So you have to go. I hope you're not offended. I trust you. You would have helped us." But the other kings said no. "So please, David, you and your soldiers go back home." "Okay," David said. "Thank you." And David was so happy. "Thank you, God, that I don't have to fight against my friends. Thank you, God. I just thank you so much. Thank you that you changed the circumstances." But now another scene. We go to King Saul. And King Saul saw in the mountain of Gilboa, in the valleys, he saw thousands of Philistines. And they had so mighty weapons, and the Israelis didn't have so much, and they were multitudes. Many armies came together against Israel. So King Saul cried to God, "God, help me, answer. What shall I do? What shall I do against my enemies?" But God didn't speak anymore to King Saul. He was disobedient. He wanted honor from people. He persecuted David, the chosen king, and God would not talk to him anymore. Then King Saul chose a way which was very, very bad. He went to a woman. She was a fortune teller. She could tell the future. She was like a witch. And before the time, Saul persecuted all the witches and they had to go to prison. And now King Saul did the same thing. He went to a witch, a fortune teller woman. And God says we should never do that. We shall never go to a witch because it's a cruel sin in God's eyes. We should only ask God for advice. And we bring a curse upon our own lives if we go to a witch to know the future, or a fortune teller. And we bring a curse on our life and till 4 generations. And if we don't ask Jesus or God for forgiveness, the curse will come upon our life and Satan will destroy our life. So never do that. Never go to fortune tellers. Never. Or when you play cards. Never do that. It's a cruel sin in God's word, and a curse comes upon our life. But King Saul did that. First, he wanted honor from men, then he persecuted his best friend. He left God, and now he did a cruel sin, going to this woman. And he put another dress on so she wouldn't recognize him as a king, but the woman, she recognized him. "Hey, you're the King Saul, you're making a trap and you want to, kill me." "No, I won't do you any harm." "What shall I do?" "Bring me the prophet Samuel." "What? The prophet Samuel?" "Yes, I have to talk to him. I'm such a bad situation. I need to talk to Prophet Samuel. And suddenly Samuel came and said, why are you disturbing me in my rest? Why did you ask me to come? Saul, why? You know that God has left you and you should not do what you're doing now. And I tell you, your army, Israel, will be defeated, and you and Jonathan, you will die tomorrow. And then he left. The prophet Samuel left back to God, to the resting place. And King Saul, he was totally disturbed. He was falling to the ground. He didn't eat and drink on that day. He fasted. I don't know if he didn't drink, but he fasted, the Bible said. And he fainted. And he was totally weak. So this woman, she gave him to eat. He refused to eat, but then he ate something and then they left. And it came like God and Prophet Samuel said. The next day, the Philistines attacked the Israeli army and they won the battle. And King Saul was very much wounded. And he said to his personal bodyguard, kill me, but he didn't want to do that, so he killed himself, and his bodyguard as well killed himself. That was the end of a great king, whom at first God has chosen. But honor from people was more value to him than the honor from God. And he disobeyed God. And he let hatred and jealousy enter into his heart. So God left him. And that was the end. But it's not the end. Of course, David was so sad, because in the same time, Prophet Samuel, he died just before, a few months before that time. Samuel the prophet died. He was also a friend of David. And now his close friend Jonathan died. And the King Saul, he still respected. But now the enemies of David didn't live anymore. And now it was time that David, the anointed one, the one who loved God with all his heart, became the king of Israel. And then God could give him and Israel victory again. May God bless you. Please forgive your enemies. Be nice to your friends. Be nice to those who are not nice to you. Just forgive them. God bless.